all of this?
Well, I'm not in the tourist sector, but I have a brother who lives in Shanghai for years now, and he's been saying, why aren't we getting the Chinese tourists into Ireland? We're concentrating all the time on the British market. There are a huge number of Chinese people who have the money to spend, and they're not for the bottom end of the market. But in order to get Chinese tourists into Ireland, Ireland needs to join Schengen countries. And this could be something possibly that Northern Ireland and the Republic could do together if Britain doesn't want
All right, but you need a visa to get into Ireland. There's someone here who's got something to say about that. Yeah, Jerry.
Jerry Mullins, I represent the coach tour operators. We've been campaigning for a long time to have some reform of a visa situation. It's a red tape issue.
So who do we not let in? What nationalities do we say, hang on, you can't come in here unless you have a visa?
Almost everybody. Almost everybody who's not European Union, who's not Canada, United States, Australia, New Zealand, almost everybody else, we make it very difficult for them to get in.
And how do we compare with our neighbours who are trying to attract tourists?
Well, first of all, this gentleman over here mentioned Schengen. So 22 countries in Europe are members of Schengen. We aren't members for various reasons. It's not even worth their while going into
well,
it.
we have a land border with the United
Britain,
Kingdom.
right.
That's a big problem. And
now,
they're not Schengen members.
That is the root of the problem, but it's not the real reason. The real reason is our bureaucracy. Just let me give you an example. I see you looking over across the room.
Yeah.
If a Chinese person wants to come on a holiday to Ireland, they must come up with 3 consecutive pay slips, 6 months of bank records, a criminal record check. They must have their marriage certificate. They must have their own birth certificate. They must have birth certificates for their children who are not even travelling.
Are they trying to get a loan from Bank of Ireland? Is that
well, that was an awful lot easier. But can you imagine, remember, we're on the periphery of Europe. There's a lot of competition in Europe. Could you imagine going to some country across the other side of the world where you had to come up with all those documents?
Would you bother?
And translated and notarized. In other words, they have to be translated into English. And that problem isn't necessarily a Schengen problem. That problem is a Department of Justice issue. And we've been campaigning for a long time to get Minister Ahern to get that changed. Brian Cowan is on record saying that he's written to Minister Cowan, so is Mary Coughlin, the Minister for Tourism, and nothing has happened.
Do you know why, though? At the time, they decided we were the richest country in the world and we didn't want those Chinese coming here and sneaking in under the border.
Them days are gone.
Now, they don't want to be here for that reason, so they might as well come here for the holidays.
Let me give you the practical example of what's happened. One of our operators picked up a group in London last week, took them on a tour of London, up through England, up through Scotland, across on the ferry, and all by coach, and then into Belfast where they stayed the night, and then took a tour around the Moor Mountains, right? They could not cross the border. They could not come into Minister Ahern's constituency because they could not get visas, right? So right now, tonight, there's 40 Chinese people just finishing dinner in a Scottish restaurant, about to go to bed in a Scottish hotel because they cannot get into Ireland. That is our problem. That's a red tape problem in the Department of Justice.
OK, very, very good point. Very interesting point as well. A gentleman in the front row here, what's your involvement in this business?
I'm an independent consultant working in the industry, Pat. I'm all over the country, and I want to talk about price very quickly.
Price?
Prices are on the floor. It cannot go any lower. But what everyone is forgetting about is the input costs. Labour, rates, cost of food and beverage. We talk about duty on foods.